Hello, and thanks for stopping by. Today I'm at the Imperial War Museum in Lambeth, where just outside the entrance you'll find this tall and rather sinister looking section of the old Berlin Wall, that notorious divide which surrounded West Berlin between 1961 and 1989. The wall was just one aspect of a heavily fortified border which also contained watchtowers, tank traps, barbed wire, electric fencing, and even vicious beds of nails which were grimly nicknamed Stalin's Lawn, all of which were intended to prevent people in the communist East from fleeing to the West. That didn't stop many brave folk from trying though, and in the 28 years it stood, it's estimated that around 140 people were killed whilst attempting to cross the deadly strip. Due to its brutal nature, it's no surprise then that the Berlin Wall became one of the most profound symbols of the Cold War, that insane era in which the threat of an all-out nuclear confrontation between America and the USSR loomed over the world like the sword of Damocles. Inside the Imperial War Museum itself, you can see a number of items related to the Cold War. This metal box, for example, is a missile launch control panel once used on board a Polaris submarine, whilst this innocent looking set of keys would have been used to arm a nuclear warhead. Also on display is this telephone unit, known as a carrier control point, 250 of which are installed in police stations up and down the country. Had the nuclear attack been detected, one of these red-taped phones would have rung to alert the officer on duty with the chilling message, "Attack warning red."
Attack warning red. Attack warning red.
Upon receiving this terrifying notification, a key was to be turned to activate local air raid sirens, thus warning the public that they only had around 4 minutes left. You can still see one such Cold War era siren today, not too far from the Imperial War Museum. It's just outside Waterloo Station, perched high up on the bridge that carries trains between Charing Cross and Waterloo East. Another example can be seen in Lewisham, on top of a tall pole outside St Stephen's Church. Had the Cold War turned hot and these sirens cranked into life, the British government, as with many other nations, had a network of bunkers in place, which were earmarked for select groups of civil servants, government officials, and certain volunteers, all tasked with controlling whatever was left of the population. This included an assortment of shelters dotted beneath London, which, due to their secret nature, remain well concealed. If nowhere to look though, there's one particular bunker which is brazenly hidden in plain sight. It's in the city's southeastern suburbs, off of Gypsy Hill and not too far from Crystal Palace. Let's head down there then and take a look. This is Pear Tree House, a 4-storey block of 8 flats which stands on the corner of Lunham Road and Hawk Road and is classed as part of the Central Hill estate. It looks pretty normal, doesn't it? But wait until you see what's around the corner. Have a look down there. That sturdy grey block upon which the flats sit is in fact a nuclear bunker. This bunker was first envisioned in 1962, the same year in which the Cuban Missile Crisis brought the world to the brink of a Third World War. During the 1950s and early 60s, the role of dealing with the aftermath of a nuclear attack on Britain would have been handled by the Civil Defence Corps, and to help organise this, the country was divided into numerous regions. In London, this included an area designated as Civil Defence Region 53A, which was formed by grouping together Southwark, Lambeth and Camberwell. The powers that be decided that this region of South London required its own bunker, or control centre as it was called, and this spot was selected for 2 reasons. Firstly, it's located in the most southerly point of Lambeth, and therefore a fair distance away from central London. And secondly, it was hoped that the surrounding hilly terrain would offer an extra level of protection from a nuclear blast. The Central Hill estate was also penciled in to occupy the same area though, and so it was simply decided to stick the bunker beneath a block of flats. Construction on Pear Tree House and the covert structure below commenced in 1963 and would take 3 years to complete. The flats themselves were designed by the noted architect Edward Hollenby, who also worked on a number of other housing estates and would later go on to play an important role in the regeneration of London's docklands, including campaigning for the creation of the Docklands Lights Railway. Edward was quoted as saying that he worked nights to sort out the details of Pear Tree House, which to me sounds like he was alluding to work on the bunker itself. It's also interesting to note, given the connection Pear Tree House has with the Cold War, that Edward Hollenby was a member of the Communist Party of Great Britain, although he renounced this following the Warsaw Pact invasion of Czechoslovakia in 1968. In 1979, the Pear Tree House bunker was refurbished and reclassified as a London Group Control, essentially the war room for overseeing South East London in the event of a nuclear attack. In this guise, Pear Tree House, along with several other bunkers dotted around the capital, would have reported to London's main control centre, which was a huge bunker buried deep beneath the Essex countryside, near the small village of Kelvedon Hatch. The Kelvedon Hatch bunker, which has an entrance disguised as a bungalow, is now open to the public as a tourist attraction, although wandering around it can make for a rather eerie experience due to the bizarre mannequins which populate it. The Pear Tree House bunker is itself a fair size. Accessed via 2 thick blast doors, it contains 18 rooms. These would have been used as a communications centre, a scientific advisor's room, a main control room, a conference and briefing room, a small canteen, and much more. There was a radio room too, which contained a little speaker box known as a WB1401 receiver. Like the police station's telephone unit we saw earlier, this equipment was hooked up to the UK's Warning and Monitoring Organisation. It was online 24/7 and, in peacetime, would quietly tick away in the background like a metronome, as a means of saying that all was well. Had a nuclear attack been detected though, the box would have blasted out a disturbing warbling tone. Not the sort of thing you ever want to hear for real, that's for sure.
Attack warning red. Attack warning red.
A number of the bunker's walls were also posted with huge maps of London, along with charts for plotting nuclear blasts and radioactive fallout. Water tanks and a generator were also provided, and a set of communications aerials were built too, which can still be seen on the roof of Pear Tree House. In the event of a nuclear war though, there would of course been no place in the bunker for the residents who lived in the 8 flats above. Like the rest of the civilian population, they would have been left to fend for themselves, with the only advice coming from the government's much derided Protect and Survive campaign, a series of short and very eerie animated films which were designed to be broadcast on television in the event of an international crisis. Initially, the campaign, which had also been accompanied by a booklet delivered to every home, was top secret, but when details of it began to leak out in 1980, it was subject to much ridicule, many thanks to the fact that it advised people to construct makeshift fallout shelters by hiding under the stairs, or using tables and doors with cushions and dirt and sand piled on top.
Whatever type of refuge you have, the main thing to remember is that the more heavy material you have around you, like earth or sand, the more chance there is of saving your life.
Because of the stark contrast between a specially built off-limits bunker and the everyday homes above, Pear Tree House became the focus of C&D demonstrations during the 1980s. The head of that organisation at the time, Bruce Kent, gave a speech here, and campaign posters were plastered over the shelter's blast doors. As they declared London a nuclear-free zone, in other words an area that refused to participate in the government's civil defence plans, the Labour-run Greater London Council of the early 80s even invited the public into the Pear Tree House bunker for a look around, as a means of exposing the ludicrous nature of it all. Despite this, Pear Tree House remained a designated bunker until 1993, being decommissioned a few years after the Berlin Wall fell and the Cold War ended. The shelter was briefly used for storage, and apparently now lies empty. Considering what it was built for, let us hope the future ensures it remains that way. Thanks so much for watching. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on the Pear Tree House bunker. Was it something that you're aware of, and would you fancy the idea of sitting out the apocalypse down there? Please be sure to let me know in the comments. I'd also be fascinated to hear your memories of the Cold War, if you're old enough to have them of course, so please do feel free to write them down below. As ever, thank you so much to all of you who've left kind words on my previous video, and a big thank you too if you're a new subscriber. It's wonderful to have you here. If you haven't yet subscribed to Rob's London, I'd appreciate it very much if you could please consider doing so, because this, along with clicking the bell icon, will ensure that you don't miss out whenever I publish a new video. Likes and shares are also very handy too, as they really do help the channel to grow. If you're after more London history, you may be interested to know that I have 2 books published: Demolished, Train Your Brain Like a Cabbie, and Waterloo, A History of London's Busiest Terminus, both of which are available online. I have an Etsy store too, Rob's Online Designs, where you'll find an array of mugs featuring hand-drawn illustrations of tube trains, taxis, buses and more. Links are all in the description. For now, thanks again friends, stay well and please be sure to stay tuned.